When I was younger, I rented a room and lived there for a little while. I didn't have much money and was trying to save up for a nicer place. The only place I could really afford in that city was this room. It was an attic in this older house. The house had 4 bedrooms and then an attic as well. There were 2 people living in the house as roommates. Then there was me living in the attic. It was kind of weird because I didn't know the people before moving in. I also wasn't really friends with them when I lived there. I would have to walk up the stairs and sometimes see them to get into my attic. But once inside, in the attic it was basically like a really large room. There was a bathroom attached, and then this tiny kitchen area in the corner. I'd never lived in an attic before, but I didn't mind it too much. The neighborhood seemed nice as well, and it was the typical suburbs with lots of houses nearby. Well, one night, I was fast asleep, only to be awoken sometime in the middle of the night. After turning over in bed and closing my eyes to go back to sleep, I heard a noise. It sounded like something had hit my window. This seemed odd. Even though I was half asleep, I knew that my window was not next to a tree branch or something that would strike it, and it was too high up for somebody to knock on it. I listened, and then less than a minute later, I heard it again. This time, I decided to get up. I walked over and looked out of the window. When I did, I saw this man standing outside. He was in our front yard and next to a tree. I did not recognize him, but I also couldn't see him very well with it being nighttime. The man then appeared to throw something at me. It was a rock, and it struck the window. Luckily, the rock was not very large, and it didn't break the window. I kept watching, and the man soon tossed another one. This one didn't hit the window, but it hit the roof nearby. I had no idea who this guy was or what he was doing. I was hoping and thinking that maybe some neighbor just got really drunk and was being reckless. I couldn't think of why anybody would want to throw rocks at me. As I continued looking out the window, the man suddenly turned and ran off down the street. Then I just covered up the window with the shades, and I went back to bed and went back to sleep. The next day, I happened to see my roommates when I was leaving, and I asked them if they had seen the guy or heard him. Neither of them had, and I guess they slept through him. So anyways, that very same night, the guy was back. Once more, I was awoken to a small rock being thrown at my window. I woke up and looked out again to see the guy was back. This time, I looked at the clock, and it was sometime after 2 in the morning. The man stood there facing me outside from the yard again. After a few moments, he fired another rock in my direction. I was seriously considering calling the police at that point. In fact, I got out my phone and was about to dial, but then the man turned and ran off into the night. Now looking back, I should have still called and reported it, but I figured that the guy was gone now and they wouldn't be able to catch him, so nothing really could be done. So then I just went back to bed. I tried to make sense of it and figure out why a guy would be throwing rocks at my window. I couldn't think of anything though. So the next day, I went to work as usual, but I happened to be out late that night. I went out with some friends and drove back home at like midnight. At the house I was renting the attic in, we did not have a driveway and just parked our cars on the side of the street. So after getting back and pulling over, I got out of my car. But then I noticed that there was somebody standing randomly in our front yard. It was not any of my roommates. I realized that it was the same